California and New York. In New York, how do you enrich select people, companies, by promoting a solution to a global crisis? And how do you keep people living in fear and isolation in order to accept the above? Define the insurgency. How do you accomplish all the above? Q. Okay, so Q is speculating that there was going to be a change of batter, a pinch hitter for Joe Biden. And I think it was reasonable to think that this was going to happen. But it didn't. At least here it is 2 days before the election, and it looks like Joe Biden is going to actually stand up for election coming up on Tuesday night or Tuesday day. But it's important to understand that what you're witnessing now is a military operation. Do not believe any of the national fake news election polls which say Joe Biden is ahead. They're making it up. They're lying. They're inventing these polls. They're oversampling Democrats in a desperate attempt to prop up the candidacy of Joe Biden. So it looks like there was an intentional military intelligence operation of the highest strategic level to replace the original Joe Biden, and it appears it's all part of the Patriots' grand plan. Because this past week, we got a real strong confirmation of the Patriots' involvement with the Joe Biden crime family and how they manipulated the whole thing, which we'll explain here in just a minute. So let's begin with our news timeline for the week. And we're going to start on Monday, the 26th, which was the day after our last call on Sunday, October 25th. We begin that day with the headline. And listen to this headline. This is really gives you a glimpse of what we're talking about here tonight. And the headline appears on thegatewaypundit.com, published on April the 26th. And it says, quote, "Keep a zombie out of the White House. President Trump's new Biden zombie ad suggests creepy Joe Biden craves human flesh." Wow. They actually made a campaign ad out of portraying Joe Biden as a zombie. Now, that is very interesting given what we've been talking about, this global satanic network that preys upon humans and children. And that is a little hint that they're giving you with this ad. Meanwhile, in the state of Florida, in Sarasota, massive line for Ivanka Trump's campaign rally in Sarasota, Florida. Now, this is one of the Trump children drawing massive crowds in Florida. Not quite the level of the president himself, but nonetheless pretty significant for a member of the family. And this is happening with all the members of the Trump family. Don Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka, Tiffany Trump, Melania Trump, all drawing massive crowds wherever they go. Doesn't matter. Let's go to Tuesday, and let's go to October the 27th. Hunter Biden audio confesses partnership with China spy chief. Joe Biden named as a witness in a Southern District of New York criminal case regarding the laptop from hell. Now, what's the laptop from hell? That's Hunter Biden's laptop. Joe Biden looks fragile as he breaks into a jog on his way to a podium in Georgia. Joe Biden says to Georgia voters, "I am Kamala's running mate. Y'all think I'm kidding, don't you?" Joe Biden is just so he's so lost. His mind is just gone. He's not in the game. He's not with us in this timeline because his mind is just turning into mush. And he's getting worse and worse by the week. Kamala Harris could replace Joe Biden via the 25th Amendment 3 weeks and Joe's shot. So in other words, maybe the plan was to replace Joe once he got into office with Kamala Harris. But you got to wonder why the Democrats would pick the most unpopular and the most radical member of Congress in the Senate from the Democratic Party to be Joe Biden's running mate. What's going on here? It's just there's more to the story. President Trump gives a great response to a reporter on Biden and the China coronavirus. And Curtis Halk on Twitter wrote, absolutely spectacular response from Trump. Reporter asked Joe Biden, says, you've waved the white flag on fighting the coronavirus. And let me play you the clip of President Trump. This will be our first audio clip tonight of speaking about Joe Biden. This is very short, so listen carefully.
No, he has. He's waved a white flag on life. He doesn't leave his basement.
So the president very briefly saying, a reporter asks, Joe Biden says you've waved the white flag on coronavirus, and President Trump responded to that brilliantly and without missing a beat. No, he has. He's waved a white flag on life. He doesn't leave his basement. So Twitter censors U.S. President Trump again after he questions election integrity. As he wrote, big problems and discrepancies with mail-in ballots all over the USA. Must have the final total on November 3rd. And Twitter said that was violated their terms of use. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton, also on Twitter, shares a video of a woman saying she wants to assassinate President Trump. Talk about fomenting violence. Meanwhile, President Trump's been barnstorming across America, giving rally after rally after rally. The rally tally update, with a week to go, President Trump is steamrolling ahead with the Biden bus, while the Biden bus is broken down. So then on Tuesday, the 27th, there was huge news in the evening about Joe Biden, and it continued to pour out. It's really been a bad month for Joe Biden. And that was on the Tucker Carlson show on Fox News, when Tony Bobulinski, the former business associate and insider of the Biden business dealings with foreign countries, gave a full interview with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, who's been just killing it lately, bringing out so many bombshell stories, invited Tony Bobulinski, flew to Los Angeles to interview him, and dedicated the full hour of his program to Tony Bobulinski's revelations, and they were many. Tucker Carlson says Tony Bobulinski is about to tell us what he knows about Joe and Hunter Biden. Tony Bobulinski tells Tucker Carlson Joe Biden denials of involvement in Son's business is a blatant lie. Plausible deniability. Tony Bobulinski says Joe Biden knew about Hunter Biden's China deal pursuance. Lapdog Press blacks out explosive. Tony Bobulinski claims that CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, and the Washington Post skip the story entirely. Hunter Biden's former business partner releases audio of the Biden family friend imploring him not to go public, and claims Joe's brother, Jim Biden, chuckled and said plausible deniability allows the family to get away with it. Now, we're going to play several clips from this interview, short clips. So listen to this first clip with Joe Biden here. with Tony Bobulinski speaking about Joe Biden. And I'm going to play these clips for you. And I'm going to play certain ones here as I go through these. Now, pardon me while I sort of get these organized here. I've got them all uploaded, and I want to play you the first one. Okay, so this is interesting clip here. It's Tony Bobulinski talking about other deals and countries that the Bidens were involved with. So here's our first clip.
Give us a sense of your contacts with Hunter Biden. A lot of this is complex. There's a lot that we're not, and this is television, so we're not putting, everything that we have on the screen because we can't. But for those who might suspect that you didn't really have a lot of contact with Hunter Biden, give us a sense of some of the places where you had conversations with him and over what time frame.
So obviously, as we already discussed throughout 2015 and 2016, while Joe was still the sitting vice president of the United States, these guys had been doing extensive work around the world in places like Oman, Luxembourg, Romania, that I was being made aware of, but I obviously hadn't come off the bench and agreed to be part of this.
I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt you there. Oman, Luxembourg, Romania.
Correct.
So they don't speak any of these languages. Neither one of these guys has any record of success in business. Neither one has a background in international business. Why would they be doing business in Oman, Luxembourg, and Romania?
Because they have relationships and they have the Biden name that they're able to set up meetings and get people to jump through hoops in an interest to garner favor with the sitting vice president, Joe Biden.
Now, folks, we've heard about the Ukraine. We've heard about Russia. We've heard about China deals. But here is Tony Bobulinski now bringing up the countries, and we've heard about Kazakhstan. But he's bringing up Oman, Luxembourg, France, many other countries that the Bidens were doing business with or negotiating with. Now, the interesting thing is that about this guy, Tony Bobulinski, and it's the name Tony Bobulinski sounds like something out of a spy novel, mafia, but it's you just wonder what's going on here. Well, Tony Bobulinski is a former U.S. Naval Intelligence officer, served in the Navy, as did his father, as a intelligence officer. Now, think about that for a minute. So the only publication that actually covered this story, mainstream media, was Newsweek magazine. Listen to this headline. Tony Bobulinski's Tucker Carlson interview has QAnon supporters thinking he's conspiracy's leader. In other words, that Tony Bobulinski is the head of Q. But this is because he said something very interesting in response to one of Tucker's questions. And listen here carefully to our next clip.
I think they referenced he was off to see the lieutenant governor.
This is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went over to the Peninsula Hotel and I sat with Jim Biden for 2 hours, where Jim Biden walked through his history and his own words, stating all the work and effort he did to get Joe Biden elected initially in Delaware, and then through the family history and the role that he had played in it. And in that meeting, remember, I'm the son of a naval officer. I'm a naval officer, was a naval officer myself. And because I held a Q clearance, which is the equivalent of a top secret clearance, we're audited every year. So if you receive a gift, I think the barrier was $25. Anything larger than $25, we had to disclose it to the government, because obviously anybody with a clearance, the government is watching closely that they're not influenced by the Russians, the Iranians, the Chinese, and stuff like that. So as I was listening to Jim walk through this, I have a big heart. If you talk to anybody who knows me, they would weigh in on that. I'm a kind person, and I'm thinking about the Biden family. Like, how are they doing this? I know Joe decided not to run 2016, but what if he ran in the future? Aren't they taking political risk or headline risk? And I remember looking at Jim Biden and saying, how are you guys getting away with this? Like, aren't you concerned? And he looked at me and he laughed a little bit and said, plausible deniability.
He said that out loud?
Yes, he said it directly to me, one-on-one in a cabana at the Peninsula Hotel after about a hour and a half, 2-hour meeting, with me asking out of concern, how are you guys doing this? Aren't you concerned that you're going to put your brother's, future presidential campaign at risk? The Chinese, the stuff that you guys have been doing already in 2015 and 2016 around the world. And I just can almost picture his face where he sort of chuckles and says, plausible deniability.
So he said, this is a man who's been drafting off his brother's political career for almost 50 years. He said to your face, essentially, we're lying about it.
Anyone watching this interview can look up what plausible deniability means, and the definition is very distinct.
That's remarkable. So I just want to back up a second, just to be clear. You met with Joe Biden twice.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, now, that was quite a statement there. I hope you caught the important part. Tony Bobulinski says he's part of Q clearance. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Now, in case you didn't hear it the first time, Tony Bobulinski said it a second time. Listen to this clip.
What are the implications of this going forward? If Joe Biden is elected president, which could very well happen, how does this constrain his ability to deal with China?
Are you asking for my personal opinion?
I'm asking for your opinion as someone who's worked with the Chinese.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. Obviously, I've referenced that I held a Q clearance. You're briefed on compromise and, who you're able to talk with and deal and do business with. And I just don't see, given the history here and the facts, how Joe can't be influenced in some manner based on the history that they have here with CFC and stuff like that. So as a citizen and an American taxpayer, I'm very, very concerned.
So that was Tony Bobulinski again, just in case you missed it the first time, saying he has a Q clearance. So isn't that interesting? We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Let's continue on with the headlines throughout the week, and then we'll come back and summarize everything for you. On Wednesday, October 28th, the Bidens weren't worried about if they got caught. They would rely on plausible deniability, as you heard Tony Bobulinski say. Hunter Biden email reveals wiring instructions for the spy chief of China's Patrick Ho from the laptop from hell. Leaked audio of Hunter Biden confirms he colluded with spy chief of China. Joe Biden, on the 28th, praises his son to Oprah Winfrey. Hunter is the smartest guy I know. Breaking exclusive, Hunter Biden pictures of himself disrobed and exposed with a certain minor. Joe Biden is lying. Joe Biden gets testy with reporters when asked about his relaxed schedule. There's not been a day that hasn't been a 12-hour day yet, he says. But Joe Biden admits he's a Trojan horse for radical Democrats. I am Kamala's running mate. Y'all think I'm kidding. Michael Moore has been commenting a lot about the election. And he said this. He said, I don't think a majority of Americans are proud to be an American right now. Meanwhile, a Senate Homeland Security Committee has verified that all the materials reviewed so far from former Biden associate Tony Bobulinski are legitimate. Then, later that night, on Tucker Carlson, he revealed something very interesting. Tucker Carlson tells viewers that a package with Biden family documents, which was sent by his producer from New York to out in Los Angeles, where he was conducting the interview, went missing in the mail. However, they said they kept copies of it. More on that in just a minute. Meanwhile, In a new poll, President Trump surges into the national lead with 7 days until the election. Now, also, big news that day from the Department of Justice. Now, listen to this. With today's charges, we have turned the People's Republic of China's Operation Fox Hunt on its head. The hunters became the hunted, the pursuers the pursued, from AAG John C. Demers. So the Department of Justice put out a press release on the 28th this week, and they said, the 5 defendants the FBI arrested this morning on these charges of illegally doing the bidding of the Chinese government here in the United States now face the prospect of prison. For those charged in China and others engaged in this type of conduct, our message is clear: stay out. This behavior is not welcome here. Is this going to be revealed as connected to the Bidens with the words, the hunters become the hunted, as the Justice Department press release said? Now, listen to this. Someone on Twitter also posted this on the 28th. The mainstream media is now saying that the Russians have created body doubles of Joe and Hunter Biden. And it was the body doubles who were corrupt, not the real Biden story. Developing plausible deniability. How about that? Remember, we talked about doubles. And the media is actually reporting on this now. Let's go to Thursday, the 29th. Breaking news: DOJ official confirms the FBI has opened a criminal investigation into Hunter Biden and associates focused on money laundering. The probe remains active. Tony Bobulinski says he was questioned by FBI agents for 5 hours as a material witness in ongoing FBI investigation focused on Hunter Biden and associates. Breaking: Hunter Biden plays victim after he's accused of walking around naked and in front of a minor that was found on his laptop. Joe Biden interrupts local Iowa reporter asking about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. It's all a smear from Russia. Classic Trump, Joe Biden said. Huge breaking news exclusive. Hunter Biden has a Pornhub account where he uploaded his personal pornography, including with family members. Wow. Ruh-oh. Top Democrats begin to panic as Biden mirage dissipates and the reality sets in. It's official. President Trump crushes record for largest gross domestic product increase, that's the GDP, in U.S. history, meanwhile. Third quarter GDP up 33.1%. That is a record, folks. The economy is roaring back. As we mentioned, the Democrats now are trying to really put on a brave face, but Representative Debbie Dingell of Michigan sounds the alarm. It's tightening here in Michigan. Auto workers who I thought were voting for Biden told me they're voting for Trump. Nancy Pelosi comes out and says President Trump should stand up like a man and accept the election results. She is going to eat her words. And this week, the presidential race began showing its true colors. The Trump campaign is building more momentum while the Biden campaign stalled out. Now, as I told you, there was an update from Tucker Carlson. The documents which were sent from New York to Los Angeles were sent via UPS overnight. And the update on the next day that the UPS finds Tucker Carlson's lost Hunter Biden package that went missing in the mail. So let's listen to Tucker speak about this on his show. on the 29th talking about these missing documents. So let's hear directly from Tucker Carlson himself.
There's always a lot going on that we don't have time to get to on the air, but there's something specific going on behind the scenes right now that we did feel we should tell you about. So on Monday of this week, we received from a source a collection of confidential documents related to the Biden family. We believe those documents are authentic, they're real, and they're damning. At the time I received them, my executive producer, Justin Wells, and I were in Los Angeles preparing to interview Tony Bobolinsky about the Biden's business dealings in China, Ukraine, and other countries. So we texted a producer in New York, and we asked him to send those documents to us in LA, and he did that. So Monday afternoon of this week, he shipped those documents overnight to California with a large national carrier, a brand-name company that we've used, you've used countless times with never a single problem. But the Biden documents never arrived in Los Angeles. Tuesday morning, we received word from the shipping company that our package had been opened and the contents were missing. The documents had disappeared. Now, to its credit, the company took this very seriously and immediately began a search. They traced the envelope from the moment our producers dropped it off in Manhattan on Monday all the way to 3:44 a.m. yesterday morning. That's when an employee at a sorting facility in another state noticed that our package was open and empty. Apparently, it had been open. So the company's security team interviewed every one of its employees who touched the envelope we sent. They searched the plane and the trucks that carried it. They went through the office in New York where our producer dropped that package off. They combed the entire cavernous sorting facility. They used pictures of what we had sent so that searchers would know what to look for. They went far and beyond, but they found nothing. Those documents have vanished. As of tonight, the company has no idea and no working theory even about what happened to this trove of materials, documents that are directly relevant to the presidential campaign just 6 days from now. We spoke to executives at that company a few hours ago. They seemed baffled and deeply bothered by this, and so are we.
So that was Tucker Carlson speaking about the documents that went missing on the 29th, actually the day before, and then he spoke about this on the 29th. Now, what do you think's going on? This reeks of deep state, doesn't it? All right, let's go to Friday, October 30th. Joe Biden gets angry, calls Minnesota Trump supporters ugly for honking horns and drowning out his speech. Joe Biden looks fragile as he jogs to a podium and screams at parking lot with a few dozen honking cars at Iowa State Fairgrounds. Joe Biden interrupts local Iowa reporter asking about Hunter's laptop from hell. And again, it's all a smear campaign, he says. Obama, Biden, Michigan rallies closed to the public. Locations being kept secret. What's going on with that? Meanwhile, in Texas, Kamala Harris tells Latinos in Texas, quote, Joe Biden and I are about to work to get rid of that tax cut. That's really brilliant campaigning, Kamala. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi says, I feel very confident that Joe Biden will be president, whatever the end count is. As Nancy Pelosi issues this frightening proclamation. Now, also on the Michael Moore, again, back to Michael Moore. He doesn't believe the polls showing Biden ahead of Trump. Now, Michael Moore is a smart guy. He's very corrupt, but he's smart. And he knows that the polls are really rigged. Michael Moore says Trump vote is always being undercounted. Meanwhile, on CNN, Don Lemon, this just deep state operative and rogue so-called reporter, compares Trump supporters to drug addicts. They have to hit rock bottom to get help. And they're all laughing as they did a roundtable on CNN. Meanwhile, CNN Democrats freak out about Republicans outpacing Democrats in the state of Florida. We've got to stop the bleeding. Let's go to Saturday. Joe Biden says there's nothing to Hunter smear My son's an honorable man. Where's Joe? A confused Barack Obama yells at Joe Biden's name several times before Biden trots out at the stage at Michigan rally. Seen over the skies of Florida is a banner being towed by a plane, and it says, USA for sale. Call the Biden family. Meanwhile, Democrats in Central Texas event cancel their Central Texas event after Trump MAGA supporters surround and escort Biden-Harris bus from town. Meanwhile, Ivanka Trump in a rally in Canfield, Ohio on Saturday, or it might have been on Friday, invites law enforcement officers who worked on a recent human trafficking rescues on stage to thank them. Historic president, the number of Democrats at President Trump's last 6 rallies ought to scare the hell out of the American left. From 20 to 54% of the attendees of the Trump rallies are not Republicans. Wow. So while President Trump was in Pennsylvania yesterday, he announced he had signed an executive order to protect fracking. Donald Trump signs an order to protect the fracking industry, and he announced this yesterday. Democrats have a growing fear that Minnesota could flip to red for President Trump. I don't think there's any doubt Minnesota's going to flip. Now, while President Trump is in Butler, Pennsylvania yesterday, he plays the best closing video of all time at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, because Joe Biden, when he was in Michigan, began to speak gibberish. And so I'm going to play you this clip. It's pretty funny. And what you'll hear, Joe Biden talking, and then what the Trump campaign put on was at the end of it was a Jim Carrey movie clip, sort of to imitate Joe Biden. So take a listen to this.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Okay, so basically, Sleepy Joe just kind of invented a word, slurred it all together, and nobody really knew what he was talking about. So Barack and I, he said, think it's right for people to have a blah, blah, blah. And it's like nobody understood really what Joe was referring to. So I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize Trump. I can't even pronounce the word. It's happening. Trump up 7 points in final Seltzer, Iowa poll. Latest state's poll has Trump up 322 to 16 for Biden in the National Electoral College. Latest polling has Trump up 11 points in Ohio, 5 points in battleground Florida, up in Arizona. Pollster who correctly predicted Trump's election win in 2016 says Trump is looking good for a repeat in 2020. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson also is quoted here as saying in an article on Breitbart News, the media are, quote, are your enemies. They are misleading you so that you will obey. Now, Jesse Waters' monologue again on Saturday night, last night, was awesome. I think Jesse is really a rising star. He really gets it. He understands. He puts things into perspective and summarizes things really well. So let's play this from last night. Jesse Waters' opening monologue.
The home stretch. That's the subject of tonight's Waters' words. President Trump surging into Election Day with a lot of momentum. He's won back-to-back-to-back weeks since kicking COVID. America shattered economic records in the third quarter, posting a 33.1% growth number, best in history, and it wasn't even close. The country's spending, shopping, and eating out again, buying homes and building new ones. We still have a lot of work to do, but it's a V-shaped recovery, 4 times faster than the Obama-Biden recovery. And if Democrat governors would fully reopen their states, we could all start getting back to normal again. The Biden family business scandal broke wide open this week. Over 7 million people watched Tucker Carlson Tuesday. He had Biden family business partner Tony Bobulinski on.
Sitting with Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, and Joe came through the lobby with his security, and Hunter introduced me as, this is Tony, Dad, the individual I told you about that's helping us with the business that we're working on and the Chinese. In that email, there's a statement where they go through the equity. Jim Biden's referenced as, 10%, doesn't say Biden, it says Jim. And then it has 10% for the big guy held by H. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. That's crystal clear to me because I lived it. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times.
The Biden family was doing business with Chinese communists, and one of the communists was actually under FBI surveillance for being a spy. The spy was later locked up for bribery in New York, and Hunter Biden represented him for $1 million fee. This is dirty. Biden can't survive an investigation into his family finances, but that's what's happening. According to reports, the FBI opened a money laundering investigation into Hunter Biden and his associates that remains open and active today. Thanksgiving at the Biden household should be interesting this year. The media censored all this, but the dam broke. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey admitted under oath the New York Post Hunter Biden laptop story was legit.
For both Mr. Zuckerberg and Dorsey, who censored New York Post stories or throttled them back, do either one of you have any evidence that the New York Post story is part of Russian disinformation or that those emails aren't authentic, Mr. Dorsey?
We don't.
Finally, Twitter unlocked the New York Post account on Friday. This was probably because Twitter's stock price took a massive hit this week. Money talks, doesn't it? But the week got even better for the president. A cascade of endorsements from cultural icons. Golf legend Jack Nicklaus. NFL Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre. That should definitely help there in Wisconsin. And 5-time Grammy Award-winning hip-hop artist Lil Wayne. Trust me, he's big. The polls are tighter than they've ever been in the battlegrounds. Real Clear Politics average. It's a dead heat in Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona. And Trump's within the margin of error in Pennsylvania and within striking distance in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Now, personally, I believe Trump's looking even better in the battlegrounds than the mainstream media polls show. I don't believe a lot of these polls. It's neck and neck everywhere, and the president's in a great position. Republicans are tied or ahead in early voting in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, Arizona, and Georgia. Republican enthusiasm is huge. And in Florida, Republicans are wiping out the Democrat early vote advantage and are on pace to put Biden behind where Hillary was in 2016. Now, the Democrats are getting nervous. Look at these headlines. Politico. We've got to stop the bleeding. Democrats sound alarm in Miami. Bloomberg. Biden aides see warning signs in Black Latino turnout so far. New York Times. Can we trust Pennsylvania's polls? They show Joe Biden clinching crucial counties, so why does it feel so different on the ground here? The Democrats' Debbie Dingell and Michael Moore are now saying Michigan isn't safe.
Some of the auto workers who I thought were going to go back to Joe Biden were very clear with me last night. They were voting for President Trump. You want to know what the auto worker said to me last night? He said, I'm tired of your Democratic friends. They look down on me.
Listen, don't believe these polls. The Trump vote is always being undercounted. Whatever they're saying the Biden lead is, cut it in half right now in your head. Cut it in half, and now you're within the 4-point margin of error. That's how close this is. That's how desperately close this is.
Trust your instincts. Just look around and listen. Cities are boarding up streets preparing for violence after Election Day. There's only going to be violence if Biden loses. So what does that tell you? Trump's closing like a happy warrior. He brought the YMCA dance back. His re-election crowds, bigger than Obama's re-election crowds. Trump's doing 14 rallies today through Monday. Biden only doing 4. And when Biden speaks, he sounds angry.
Dr. Fauci called for a mask mandate last week. This isn't a political statement like those ugly folks over there beeping the horns. This is a patriotic duty, for God's sake.
It's because more Trump supporters are showing up at Biden events than Biden supporters. And they're giving Joe a little jazz with the horns. The former VP is on the defensive. While Trump talks about what he did do and what he will do, Biden keeps talking about what he won't do.
I'm not shutting down oil fields. I'm not eliminating fracking. I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm not going to shut down the country. You're not going to pay a penny in additional taxes.
Okay, sure, Joe. And he's not finishing the race with a strong, positive message. He's off his game.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
I have no idea what that means, except that Joe's not cut out for the job. If the media can drag Joe over the finish line, though, it's Kamala's job for the taking. They even say it out loud.
I am so honored to introduce the next president of the United States, Senator Kamala Harris. Let's step forward.
I mean, it could happen. I could be wrong. Maybe COVID's going to kill Trump's reelection. Maybe his style is just going to hurt him with some groups. Maybe the big tech billionaire media alliance rigging the race for Biden is just too powerful. That could happen, but I don't believe it will. It won't happen if you vote. The people are what make Trump powerful. He's going to win re-election if the people turn out. I can feel it. Republicans already ahead where they need to be with early voting. So if you vote on Election Day, it'll be 4 more years.
On Tuesday, we will show the world that for our country and for our children and for the incredible people of Pennsylvania, the best is indeed yet to come.
Okay, so that was Jesse Waters from Waters World last night speaking, giving his opening monologue, which was excellent. And he summarized everything over the past week very, very well. Now, notice some of the things he said there. The people are what make Trump powerful. He's going to win re-election if the people turn out. If you vote on Election Day, it'll be 4 more years. Now, that was followed yesterday by the Q drops. So listen to these, folks, for Saturday, October the 31st. Q wrote in drop number 4944. Are you ready to start, are you ready to finish what we started? Nothing can stop what is coming. It's not just a catchphrase. Q drop 4945. Are you ready to hold the political elite protected, accountable? Q. Q drop 4946. Are you ready to take back control of this country? And then finally, Q drop 4947, a link to YouTube and a video, Space Shuttle launch audio, play loud, no music, and it's 0 days to launch. So here's Q just pumping it up, rallying the troops, getting us ready for some huge events about to happen. Now let's go to today's headlines. On ABC, John Karl is in awe over Trump's last-minute campaign sprint. Something of a marvel, he actually admitted on ABC today. Meanwhile, the Trafalgar Group's polling expert Robert Cahaly now predicts a huge Trump win on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures. A huge win. Robert Cahaly, the chief pollster at Trafalgar Group, the organization that correctly predicted Trump wins in Michigan and Wisconsin in 2016, was on Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Future. Cahaly believes Trump will win again in 2020, and it's going to be huge. Meanwhile, Las Vegas Oddsmakers announces a final prediction. Trump electoral landslide is coming. Okay. Now, let's summarize everything here that we've been seeing over this past couple of weeks. And beginning really with Joe Biden announcing his candidacy way back in 2019. So we are now witnessing the full military action plan, which we call the MAP, in full motion now. It's entirely possible that this guy that's emerged now, Tony Bobulinski, is or was part of the Q military intelligence, given the fact that he has admitted he's part of Q clearance. The U.S. military Q intelligence was well aware of the Biden's family corruption and treason. Now, Joe Biden himself is not a very smart guy, and he is extremely corrupt. He was last in his class, he said, in law school. He said he was first, but he's actually last. He lies. He's corrupt. He's bought and paid for. He's part of the swamp for 47 years. So he's the perfect guy to use to bring down the entire corrupt Democratic Party. Tony Bobulinski was very likely, and I'm speculating here, was used to infiltrate the Biden's play-to-play operations, in other words, deals with foreign countries and selling out our country as part of a plant that Tony Bobulinski was planted into the Biden campaign and or the Joe Biden family business, let's say. So then Tony Bobulinski then acted as a double agent while the Q intelligence team gained information on the Bidens and their corrupt business practices. And Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and Jim Biden, who are not very smart guys, who never were successful in business, walked right into the trap which was set. So then, with Joe Biden's corruption, he was arrested, he was put through a military tribunal, and he was actually already executed. And as I said, there was a replacement in for Joe. So they used that replacement, who would be the weakest candidate of all the Democrats. Remember, they pushed Bernie Sanders out, who were running for president during the primaries. And the U.S. Q military intelligence, Q clearance, is using Joe Biden to bring down and destroy the entire Democratic Party, because Joe Biden is a thread. You'll start to pull on it, and it'll connect to everyone else in the Democratic Party in the high upper echelon. So as we've said, the real Joe Biden and the real Hunter Biden have already been tried and found guilty of treason and have been executed by the military. And you're watching a movie, as Q says all the time. You're watching a movie play out. And remember also what Q says, this is more than a 4-year election. Okay? So this is really what if we put together all the pieces and connect all the dots, it appears that this is what's really happening. That Joe Biden, who was so compromised and so corrupt, was used as essentially a Trojan horse to gain access into the Democratic Party and to destroy it and implode it from within. That's what you're witnessing happening right now. All right, let's go to other big news of the week. Let's go back to Monday. Now, as we said, The Supreme Court has been now basically been turned over. You have 3 new judges appointed by President Trump already: Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and now Amy Coney Barrett, in place of the worst Supreme Court justice ever, and that's the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious RBG. So now the Supreme Court is ready for what's about to happen. It's official. Judge Amy Coney Barrett confirmed by the U.S. Senate on Monday, October 26th, to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, during the voting process, a suspicious package arrived at the U.S. Capitol right before the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation vote. Where do you think that came from? Promises made, promises kept. Amy Coney Barrett sworn in as the United States Supreme Court Justice at a Trump White House ceremony. Now, Amy Coney Barrett was nominated on September 20. Was nominated by President Trump for the Supreme Court on September 26, and she was confirmed by the Senate and sworn in as the new Supreme Court Justice in a mere 30 days. So listen to this headline now. This tells you all you need to know. Amy Coney Barrett's first case as Supreme Court Justice could be one that decides the presidential election. One of the first cases she could hear as a Supreme Court Justice could decide who wins the White House. Let's go to Tuesday, October 27th. Pennsylvania Democratic Governor Wolf calls mass rioting and looting in Philadelphia peaceful protests. 30 stores looted, reporters and police attacked on night number 2. Meanwhile, Keith Raniere, the leader of the sex cult NXIVM, is sentenced to 120 years in prison. So think about this, folks. They now have Keith Raniere arrested and in jail for life and beyond. They have Harvey Weinstein arrested and in jail as well. Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested and is actually not dead, but in military custody somewhere. And now they have Ghislaine Maxwell arrested and in jail. These are 4 big-time human traffickers, some of the top in the world. All have been dealt with. Let's go to Thursday, October 28, 2020, headlines. Now, at the U.S. Senate, they brought in big tech, including Google. Sundar Pichai was the Google rep, Jack Dorsey of Twitter, and Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. And Senator Ted Cruz had some very interesting things to say. I'm going to play you just a little bit of this. He said, "Who the hell elected you and put you in charge of what the media is allowed to report?" Senator Cruz rips Jack Dorsey for censorship of the New York Post Hunter Biden reports. So I'm going to play you just a little bit of this clip here.
Senator Cruz. Chairman, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. The 3 witnesses we have before this committee today collectively pose, I believe, the single greatest threat to free speech in America and the greatest threat we have to free and fair elections. Yesterday, I spent a considerable amount of time speaking with both Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Pichai. I have concerns about the behavior of both of their companies. I would note that Facebook is at the minimum at least trying to make some efforts in the direction of defending free speech. I appreciate their doing so. Google, I agree with the concerns that Senator Klobuchar raised. I think Google has more power than any company on the face of the planet. And the antitrust concerns are real. The impact of Google is profound. And I expect we will have continued and ongoing discussions about Google's abuse of that power and its willingness to manipulate search outcomes to influence and change election results. But today,
I want to focus my questioning on Mr. Dorsey and on Twitter. Because of the three players before us, I think Twitter's conduct has by far been the most egregious. Mr. Dorsey, does Twitter have the ability to influence elections?
No.
You don't believe Twitter has any ability to influence elections?
No, we are one part of a spectrum of communication channels that people have.
So you're testifying to this committee right now that Twitter, when it silences people, when it censors people, when it blocks political speech, that has no impact on elections?
People have choice of other communication channels with which...
Not if they don't hear information. If you don't think you have the power to influence elections, why do you block anything?
Well, we have policies that are focused on making sure that more voices on the platform are possible. We see a lot of abuse and harassment, which ends up silencing people and having them leave from the platform.
All right, Mr. Dorsey, I find your opening questions, your opening answers absurd on their face. Let's talk about the last 2 weeks in particular. As you know, I have long been concerned about Twitter's pattern of censoring and silencing individual Americans with whom Twitter disagrees. But 2 weeks ago, Twitter, and to a lesser extent Facebook, crossed a threshold that is fundamental in our country. 2 weeks ago, Twitter made the unilateral decision to censor the New York Post in a series of 2 blockbuster articles, both alleging evidence of corruption against Joe Biden, the first concerning Ukraine, the second concerning communist China. And Twitter made the decision, number one, to prevent users, any user, from sharing those stories. And number two, you went even further and blocked the New York Post from sharing on Twitter its own reporting. Why did Twitter make the decision to censor the New York Post?
We had a hack materials policy that we...
When was that policy adopted?
In 2018, I believe.
In 2018, go ahead. What was the policy?
So the policy is around limiting the spread of materials that are hacked. We didn't want Twitter to be a distributor for hack materials. We found that the New York Post, because it showed the direct materials, screenshots of the direct materials, and it was unclear how those were attained, that it fell under this policy. Now,
so in your view, if it's unclear the source of a document, in this instance, the New York Post documented what it said the source was, which it said it was a laptop owned by Hunter Biden that had been turned into a repair store. So they weren't hiding what they claimed to be the source. Is it your position that Twitter, when you can't tell the source, blocks press stories?
No, not at all. Our team made a fast decision. The enforcement action, however, of blocking URLs, both in tweets and in DM, in direct messages, we believe was incorrect. And we changed it.
Today, right now, the New York Post is still blocked from tweeting 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was an exchange between Ted Cruz, Senator from Texas, and Jack Dorsey of Twitter. And they called him out. And I think you're going to see some big actions taken against social media in President Trump's second term. And there's going to be hell to pay. All right, now, let's finish up here. Also, on Thursday, October the 28th, big news. 45 missing children rescued in massive human trafficking bust in the state of Ohio. 45 missing children rescued, 179 arrested on Monday. Meanwhile, Bette Midler, the singer and actress, begs God to destroy the racist criminal Trump. This Bette Midler, she screams and yells. She must have a lot of dirt that she's trying to hide. I would not be surprised if she's involved in human trafficking as well. But we'll see what happens. Let's go to Friday, October 29th. This explains the surging numbers. Whistleblower says that El Paso, Texas ambulances are bringing COVID-19 patients from Juarez, Mexico to U.S. hospitals. Selfish hypocrite AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, poses in a $14,000 clothes on the cover of Vanity Fair to push communism and to cuss out President Trump. Will Twitter censor her lies? Let's go to Friday, October 30th. Mitch McConnell comes out and says that Amy Coney Barrett confirmation was the birthday present for Hillary Clinton. You know, Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed on Hillary Clinton's birthday. And Mitch McConnell says it was a birthday present to Hillary. I'm sure she loved it. Now, also on Thursday of this week, actually I'm talking about Friday, Archbishop Carlo Marie Vigano sent another open letter to President Trump. At this hour, the fate of the world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God. Let me read you this article. If you believe the current struggles in our nation between good and evil, you are not alone. Carlo Maria Vigano is an archbishop of the Catholic Church who served as the apostolic nuncio to the United States from October 19, 2011 to April 12, 2016. Archbishop Vigano previously warned Catholics on the historic spiritual importance of this 2020 election, on the future of this country and this planet. President Trump is standing up against the demonic forces of the deep state and the new world order. This is a biblical challenge in November, wrote Cardinal Archbishop Vigano, of the children of light against the children of darkness. President Trump is the greatest defender of the supreme values of the Christian civilization, of life from conception to natural death, of the natural family composed of one man and one woman and children, and of love for the homeland, one nation under God. Earlier this week, Archbishop Vigano published an open letter to President Trump during this hour of fate for the nation and the global community. This is a warning to America in this important hour. And General Michael Flynn tweeted out the letter today to his nearly 1 million followers. Former apostolic nuncio to the U.S. Archbishop Vigano's open letter to President Trump warns of a, quote, great reset, unquote, plot to destroy humanity. It's not surprising, Cardinal Vigano wrote, or Archbishop Vigano, that the enemy is angered at being discovered undisturbed. A warning. Former apostolic nuncio to the U.S. Archbishop Vigano's open letter to President Trump warns of a great reset plot to destroy humanity. It's not surprising the enemy is angered at being discovered. Okay, now, so guess what? Q posted that letter on October 30th. 4-page letter from Archbishop Vigano. And in there, that letter, the Archbishop wrote about what's called the Great Reset. Now, this is different than what we've been discussing, the global reset. Then I'm reading Q drop 4942. 4941 was the letter was posted. Then 4942 is a link to Time magazine. The Great Reset. Listen to this, folks. The COVID-19 pandemic has provided a unique opportunity to think about the kind of future we want. Time magazine partnered with the World Economic Forum to ask leading thinkers to share ideas for how to transform the way we live and work. And Q adds this. This is not about Republican versus Democrat. This is about preserving our way of life. If America falls, the world falls. Patriots on guard. Q. And then what we need to understand about all of this is that the Great Reset that they want to do is to totally change to the New World Order. where you do away with the United States, its borders, its country, its constitution, its Declaration of Independence, and all countries are going to be part of this new world order, this great reset, to reset everything in their vision. And this is what Cardinal Vigano was warning President Trump about. Amazing, isn't this? Because the Vatican is a big part of the cabal. Let's go to QDrop 4943. It's a link to Twitter. And Brent Schur on Twitter writes, what the F? PolitiFact rates it mostly true that the pro-police thin blue line flag is actually an anti-Black Lives Matter flag. So this is an article from PolitiFact. An anti-Black Lives Matter flag replaced the American flag behind President Trump during a rally at a Waukesha campaign rally. And there's a picture of President Trump with the flag behind him. They are calling that the anti-Black Black Lives Matter flag. Hugh adds this. Fact checkers created in an effort to reinforce propaganda digestion. The battle to prevent truth from reaching the people. The battle to maintain and push division. Divided you are weak. Divided you fight each other. Divided you pose no threat. System of control. Information warfare. Hugh. Okay, let's go to other news from yesterday. Now, President Trump spoke about this at his rally in Pennsylvania. I heard him speaking about this last night. American hostages rescued in West Africa by a SEAL Team 6 in a daring raid. The rescue took place earlier Saturday in northern Nigeria. Now, haven't we been hearing a lot lately about SEAL Team 6 and how they were taken out after the raid on the Osama bin Laden compound in Pakistan? And here we are hearing a story. Something is very interesting about this, that you're hearing more about SEAL Team 6 and rescuing an American hostage in Africa. Now, okay, so right now, folks, the media, the Democrats, the deep state is all pushing this new outbreak of coronavirus. And this headline from the Gateway Pundit, you knew this was coming. The latest number of COVID-19 cases continues to rise across the U.S. Several states set new records just days before the election. Several states, what a complete shock, the Gateway Pundit wrote. Several states are reporting their highest COVID-19 cases numbers this past week, just days before the national election. Imagine that. What a coincidence. The New York Times wrote, COVID-19 U.S. breaks daily record with over 99,000 new cases as surge quickens. U.S. sets new daily case record for second straight day, ABC News reported. The U.S. reached its single-day record with over 90,000 COVID-19 cases. Now listen to this from CNN. What we can learn from 1918's deadly second wave. So they're pushing now the second wave. It's in the deadly wave of 1918 flu pandemic. Millions of people were doomed because they didn't know what we know about the viruses and respiratory illnesses spread. We might face a similar fate if some people continue to ignore what a century of scientific progress and hindsight have taught us about enduring pandemics. And then get this. This is another headline from CNN. You're not going to believe this one. COVID-19 tests given to cats, dogs, dolphins, and more animal species by U.S. scientists. Can you believe this? They claim now They're finding COVID in dolphins, in dogs, in cats. It's really getting out of hand. Now, this is just par for the course. And, they're pushing this whole fear-mongering pandemic, and they continue to use it against the people of the U.S. to justify lockdowns, to justify all of this stuff in the name of safety. And, of course, it's all just a bunch of baloney. Now, as ABC News said, just in 29 states report a record number of new coronavirus cases. Really now. I don't believe any of this. I don't believe any of this is real. Now, as we mentioned earlier, and we should mention this, that in Belgium, in the country of Belgium, Prime Minister De Croo of Belgium announces a strict nationwide COVID-19 lockdown. Belgium lockdown will be all non-essential stores, and some other businesses will close. Bars and restaurants remain closed. Working from home is mandatory where possible. People are still allowed to leave their home, but no visitors at home. Measures will last at least 6 weeks. In the UK, they're getting ready to lock down the country again. Now, Hillary Clinton came out and said on the 29th of October this week, Nancy Pelosi is ready to unleash liberal hell on America if Joe Biden wins. Now, a lot of cities now are preparing for violence after the election. Anticipating mass riots and looting, Walmart pulls guns and ammo from sales floor before the election. Now, and then these headlines that are happening. In Washington, D.C., on Twitter, someone said the entire neighborhood surrounding the White House is preparing for mass unrest. Boards, chains, fences, and barriers. This is insane. And this also story is emerging. Who's ever got the guns can win. Let's take over the buildings. Wow. Lisa Fithian, Black Lives Matter, her radical leftists are working with federal workers for post-election mass violence. Important. Gaffney, Siegel, Loudon, and Beatty discussed the planned chaos and violence coming to America's streets next week by the organized left. And this was put out by Millie Weaver, Millennial Millie. Exclusive footage, leftist protest groups plot election day coup aided by the Democratic Party, federal employees, and intelligence contractors. They plan to shut down and take over Washington, D.C. starting November 4th until Inauguration Day to force Trump out of the White House. Now let's listen to this video report by Millie Weaver talking about this that she put out on her Twitter. Let me see if I can quickly upload this to so you guys can hear the recording. Pardon me while I take care of this here real quick. And I'm going to play you this audio. But these are some of the names that we just mentioned. So let me play you this audio clip here from
Our
Millie Weaver.
undercover inside the Sunrise Movement was able to obtain exclusive video footage inside Zoom chats where Shutdown DC, BLM, and other leftist organizations are coordinating a multi-level coup action exercise utilizing insider help from Democrat Party members as well as federal employees and intelligence contractors.
I'm a management and programs analyst. I work in the national security community. I spent 3.5 years as a contractor at DHS HQ.
If you read the mainstream press, like they all have Signal accounts, text them, leak everything you can. The journalists I've dealt with have been super ethical in ways to shield me, to be the source of the leaks.
Groups on the outside being able to show solidarity with federal workers.
Making sure that we're naming what is happening as a coup.
Totally agreed in the Shutdown DC conversations that I've been having, and that's not on the federal side. We also are often saying that we'll call it a coup.
They plan to shut down Washington, D.C. and other major U.S. cities starting November 4th until Inauguration Day.
Do we have any plans for how to respond if there's a coup?
Come to BLM Plaza anytime after 4 p.m. on election night. On the 5th, we're going to shut down the White House.
Map the White House and know every access point so we knew we could blockade it.
On the 6th, we're going to shut down larger parts of Washington, D.C.
We've been working on a target map and a framework for scenario. So where are all the police stations? Where are all the key government buildings? Who are the Trump boosters?
Members of Congress that are coming in, we're going to meet them at the airports or at Union Station and send them back to where they came from until we deal with the situation that we're in.
We are going to be in a crisis, but we want it to be one that we are creating. Whoever's got the guns can win. Let's take over the buildings. If there are people that are willing to do that, we should support them. Get ready to shut your city down on the 4th or the 5th.
Regardless of who wins, the left plans to take over.
Okay, so that was Millie Weaver, Millennial Millie, reporting on these radical left groups that are planning civil unrest and violence beginning probably on the night of the election or as soon as Donald Trump is declared the official winner, whenever that will be. I don't know how the election night is going to go and how this is all going to unfold. It's a lot of possible moving scenarios, so let's hope that at some point on Tuesday night, President Trump is declared the winner. Now, and then this article appeared on Natural News, although I think it's a little bit extreme. Total war is coming to America after Biden is defeated on November 3rd. Prepare for every worst-case scenario you've ever imagined. Now, this is written by Natural News, Mike Adams, the health ranger, and I think he's overreacting here. I don't see this. I think the military is prepared for this. Now, right now, for instance, these articles are appearing. An election day role for the National Guard, maybe, but limited. National Guard in several states preparing for potential unrest after the election. Now, the National Guard has been called out in Pennsylvania and several other states, including Texas. Texas governor has deployed the National Guard in multiple cities on Election Day. Now, remember, let's go back to the Q post number 4943. And it's a link to Twitter, at the real Alex Bauman. And he posted this on Twitter saying, safety standards and core rules for Washington State conveniently end the day after the election. Is this about a virus or about the election? Who benefits the most? And it's a link to the Washington.gov website. The emergency rule effective July 2020 expires November 5th, 2020. For more information, see, and it's a link to Washington.gov website. And so Washington State is planning on ending these mask requirements, I assume, on the 5th of November after the election. And Q says, C19 narrative kill date, election day +1. So election day +1 is November 4th. And then Q adds, prepare for 0-day massive cyber power attacks attempts on 11.4. Q. Now, that was put out by Q on July 17th, 2020. Now, President Trump was going to spend the election at his hotel in Washington, D.C. You remember in 2016, President Trump had that big party at the hotel in New York, and there was a big enthusiastic crowd. Well, that will not be the case this year. This article from the Washington Examiner came out on the 30th, and it reads, President Trump plans for election night at the White House instead of his hotel. President Trump is expected to watch the election night results come in from the Fortress White House after considering a party at his Washington hotel. Now, it's interesting that the words fortress are used. Now, Q has talked about a sky fortress. What do you think a sky fortress would be? This is Q drop number 501 from January 7, 2018, and it's coded here. P_persons1 confirmed, _action, and then a bunch of letters, which read DBF5CZ BSY-1_Y. For God and country, Sky Fortress engaged. Q. What would be the Sky Fortress? Air Force One. Air Force One is the Sky Fortress. Will President Trump be taking to Air Force One on election night or thereafter? Maybe 11.4. Now let me finish up here with a couple of things. Let me read you Q drop 34 from November 1st, 2017. And so we're going all the way back to November of 2017 when Q, just days after Q first appeared on October 28, 2017. And this reads, now listen to the beginning of this. Q clearance Patriot. What have we been talking about tonight, folks? Q clearance, Tony Bobulinski. And it reads, here, again, I'm reading from Q drop 34, number 34. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm, and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On President's orders, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable on 11.4. Confirmation of the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On the President's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child to this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the Emergency Broadcast System, the EMS, during this time in an effort to provide a direct message avoiding the fake news to all citizens, organizations, and our people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. Now, that is November 1st, 2017. That is exactly now 4 years ago from today. And so here we are. This message is very appropriate. Again, the Q says the public. Excuse me here. We have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout which is slated to occur on 11/3 upon the arrest of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11.4. So you can see that Q is proving, again, future proofs past. So again, we could see some civil unrest after the election on Tuesday night and throughout the week coming up. Let's hope and pray for our country, that everybody is safe and sound and that people are protected. But I have no doubt the military is ready for whatever is coming here. Now, just to end tonight, a couple of things here. President Trump held a rally in Reading, Pennsylvania. I believe this was yesterday. And of course, he holds the rally outside, pulls Air Force One, and then people gather at the airport with the plane behind him. And someone posted on Twitter, amazing day in Reading, PA today. I remember this day forever. My husband caught the moment. God shined the spotlight on Trump. And there's this huge ray of light coming down from above and hitting President Trump directly on his head. And it's an amazing photograph of this rally in Reading, Pennsylvania yesterday. Just a sensational image of this huge beam. I call it a ray. It's more like a beam of light coming down, and it couldn't have been more perfect, hitting President Trump directly. And I think this is a sign from God, from the divine, that President Trump is protected and he's going to win decisively on Tuesday night. Are you ready for this, folks? So, in conclusion tonight, we appear to be in a major reveal in a takedown of the Democratic Party, which Joe Biden has been the unwitting victim of this massive military action plan. And we're going to see the crowning achievement coming up on Tuesday night as President Donald J. Trump is reelected for a second term. So this is the most exciting, the most dramatic time in American history right now and in world history, because this is going to have an impact on the entire world. And during President Trump's second term, the gloves are coming off. You're going to see massive movement of the counterattack against the global satanic elite. Arrests will take place, prosecutions, military tribunals, along with many other initiatives that are going to be in place well into President Trump's second term. You're going to see massive infrastructure rebuilding of our country, massive wealth, prosperity, jobs. It's going to be a glorious time in America, but we've just got to get through this transitional period that we are in right now. But it's happening, folks. This is really it. That this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been longing for. Many of us have been anticipating this for quite some time, and here it is. It's finally happening. So I urge all of you to stay positive and envision our country now being restored and the criminals being brought to justice. Let's pray for these blue states like California, Oregon, Washington, that they are going to flip red. Other blue states like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. I'm just hoping that a lot of these states and the United States House of Representatives is all going to flip red. And this is what we need to envision and pray for here in the final 2 days before the election. But I think it's going to be a glorious celebration of the re-election of Donald Trump. It's going to be quite a celebration now, but there's probably going to be a lot of drama associated with this. So that's about all the intel I wanted to share with you tonight. A lot of things happening, a lot of great news for President Trump right now, a lot of momentum, a lot of energy propelling him forward to victory, which he will be crowned victorious on Tuesday night. I have no doubt about it. It's just a question of how big the victory is going to be. And the bigger, the better for our country, so that the deep state Democrats, the fake news media can't contest this election in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish up here with a couple things. I just want to remind people that some of you have been sending me checks for Ron the Inventor CDs. I just got some of your checks just a couple of days ago, and we'll be sending those out, but you need to be patient while we get those in the mail to you. They'll be coming media mail, and some of you have just received your payment, so please be patient as we get those out to you. We've already mailed out quite a bit of those. If you still want to order Ron the Inventor CDs from our September 13th Miracles Intel call, that's a 3D set. Just send us an email if you'd like a set of those. All right, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Q&A mode, and we will take your questions by email. We'll take your questions through Maria Love and her text, if you'd like to, and we'll also do the Q. Our
Q&A session has started.
So right now we are in our Q&A mode, and you can *6 to ask your question. And I'm going to bring our wonderful co-host on, Maria Love, to bring us any questions that some of our listeners have. And Maria, have you got something for me?
Yeah, I have about 4 or 5 questions all lined up.
Okay.
So
All right.
let's do the first one.
Fire at will.
Okay, this is from B, and she says, this week Sandler Surfing had a video on NESARA and said the prosperity payments will no longer be part of a NESARA, and she also said that there will be no redemption for foreign currencies. Do you have any knowledge of this?
I disagree with that. I don't know about prosperity programs, but yes, there'll be redemption of currencies. I'm not sure. I can't vouch for her information, but as far as I know, there is going to be a public exchange at some point. I just don't know when. It may not even be this year, but I've not been told that, no. So I would disagree with that, as far as I've been told so far. Okay, next question.
Okay, this is from Judith D. And she says, has Scott heard anything about Barr meeting with Joe Biden, asking him to resign from presidential election or be arrested?
Well, there's a lot of rumors around, and we talked about a lot of these. We played a clip from the intel provider named Gene Decode, and he said that Joe Biden would be indicted before the election. That's certainly not going to happen. There was speculation whether Joe Biden would drop out due to all of the bad news that's been coming. And then, of course, we talked about tonight the speculation whether Joe Biden would be replaced. And as far as I can see, reading the tea leaves, none of that's going to happen. None of it. It looks like they're going to let Joe Biden run and let the chips fall. And I think actually this is the best scenario of all, because if President Trump, as we expect Maria Love to be a huge victory, the best thing is for let him win, let the American people back him with their votes, and let Joe Biden become the casualty of the night by just coming up severely short. And I think, personally, this is the best scenario of all, is to just let it play out and allow President Trump to win the election fair and square. Wouldn't you agree, Maria Love? Wouldn't you agree that's probably the best thing for our country?
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Excellent.
Okay. Next question.
This is from John C. He says, will Q Research ever give up being as pornographic as a Biden video, or should I just stay away from it? It's really tiresome for someone trying to live graciously to maintain a spirituality in the presence of such awful imagery.
Yeah, I would go to QAnon.pub and just get the collated messages. I would stay off of those message boards on the 8kun or any of those. There is a lot of disgusting imagery that's posted on there. And because you've got all kinds of different people posting, and I just would avoid. I don't read that part. I just read the collated messages on QAnon.pub. And I think it's a lot safer. It's a lot cleaner. So that's what I would recommend. Okay. Next question.
Okay, this is from Barb P. She says, Bill Barr has not been seen or heard. Is he in trouble?
As far as I know, no. I think they're just preparing for what's about to happen. And remember, he went into COVID lockdown. He quarantined himself for quite some time and didn't kind of hear from him. And in that light, Billy wrote in and said, Scott, you said tonight that the FBI and DOJ are mostly cleaned out. It seems to me that they are corrupt as ever. Wray, Barr, and Durham are not getting anything done, and I believe all three are part of the deep state. No, Billy, you haven't been listening to us. They're playing a role right now. The only one I'm not real sure about is Christopher Wray, but William Barr is not part of the deep state. They're waiting. They're waiting for the right time. They held back the John Durham investigation until after the election. This is when everything is going to come out. No, they've cleaned out a lot of the Department of Justice. They've cleaned out a lot of the FBI. And again, is Christopher Wray part of the deep state? I just don't see it makes sense that President Trump would have appointed him and he's as bad as James Comey was or similar. I think Christopher Wray has been stalling for time, holding back documents until it is the right time. When President Trump is reelected, he has no political obligations then, because he can't run for a third term. He can do what he needs to do. He's going to have the backing of the American people by the election, and once all of this evidence starts to pour out, they'll demand that something be done. Understand the military action plan. And we've been putting this out. We've been covering this in detail week after week after week. So you're missing the boat on this if you're not quite understanding how this is working. You don't take things at the face value. You have to look at what's going on behind the scenes and with all of the other evidence and operations that are taking place. You know, this is what they want you to think, that nothing is happening. But as Q says, take a look. A lot is happening. Okay. Let's go to, do you have another question for me, Maria Love?
Yes, there's a couple of them. Anyway, it says, This is from Christy. I have a question for tonight's conference call. The last few rallies I've watched, listened to, I've heard Trump mention vaccines coming soon. Does he mean a real vaccine, or is it code for indictments coming soon? I've heard it mentioned by others, so is wanting some clarification. And I know there'll be natural remedies and therapeutics coming out for everyone in 2021.
Well, as we've explained before, and Maria, you might remember me talking about this, vaccine is code word for the military. So they are going to be the vaccine against the deep state. Again, don't take President Trump's words, don't even take Q at his face value. There's always coded messages which are being communicated that we have to look at. President Trump is not going to require people to take a vaccine. President Trump is not going to make it mandatory to have a vaccine. President Trump is not going to push a vaccine onto the people. It's going to be available, and it'll be safe, but it'll be optional. Do I want to take a coronavirus vaccine? Heck no. And I would not suggest, I'm not a medical professional, and I wouldn't advise anyone to do it, but are there going to be treatments? And yes, HCQ, these other treatments that President Trump was given at Walter Reed. But as far as a vaccine, I would not take that literally. It's more coded. Although there will be a vaccine, I'm sure, available that will be safe for people. Okay, let's go to we'll come back to you, Maria. Let's open up our queue, and we'll take some questions. 7246. Are you there?
Hello?
72. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Who's this?
I'm John.
We hear you. Okay, John, you have a question.
Yes. So, I actually had two. So, I wanted to touch on what they were saying about Santa surfing. Part of NESARA, I know they, say that we're supposed to get some kind of reimbursement or prosperity payouts, which I suspect, could be in the form of a universal basic income. Do you suspect that we will probably see something like that, something like a universal basic income, $1,200 to $2,000 every month, to help supplement whatever income we make at our jobs? And then also, as far as the coronavirus goes, do you think after the election there will be a sudden termination, like Trump will come out and, tell the whole truth about it? Like, how do you foresee the coronavirus and the forced mask wearing ending? Do you think it'll be an immediate termination, or do you think it'll be slowly, like a slower termination?
Okay, let me answer your question first. NESARA is actually no more. NESARA has been updated, and it's called GESARA. Now, GESARA does not include a universal basic income, and prosperity packages are something that people had to buy into. There were a number of different ones, and they were to be paid out many years ago. There was reports, and as far as I know, those are still on track, but when that will happen, I don't know. Yes, there's going to be a $1,200 a month stipend to all Americans over the age of 18, which is part of the redistribution of wealth. They originally were considering raising Social Security dramatically, but now they've come up with this $1,200 figure. That's what the stimulus payments were about. They were supposed to continue, but the Democrats sabotaged those. So, yes, it will not be called a universal basic income, because that's what the cabal wants, where you're dependent on the government. But there will be funds redistributed at the pace of $1,200 a month. Now, as far as the coronavirus, I think it's going to end here soon. I think it's kind of just going to fade away. The media is going to lose interest in it because it was really about the election. And I think you're going to see a lot of it just kind of fade away. And X22 speculated this will be all over by Thanksgiving. But will President Trump reveal? I think perhaps some things are going to come out, but I don't know what. I don't know when. But I think this whole thing is going to eventually dissipate, and the media is no longer going to be obsessed with it because they can't use it as a political weapon in order to sabotage President Trump's re-election. And I think it'll naturally just start to fade away, but not dramatically, more gradually. That's what I'm anticipating, John. Okay?
Okay. And also, do you still think there will be a debt jubilee?
Oh, yes. It's already started. It's already happening. But it's not going to be an instantaneous all in one. It's going to be slowly, company by company. It's already started. It started in Asia, roll across Europe, and it's in America right now. Okay?
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
God bless. Okay, let's go to our next in the queue. Let's go to 4934.
Hello.
Are you there, 4934?
No, she said I was next, and then, but you didn't say my telephone number.
Yes, I did. 4934, third time.
No, mine is 580.
Well, that's what's showing up here, so go ahead with your question.
Okay, this is Tom from California.
Yes.
I'm still concerned about the 2 million jihadists that Obama sent over there. Are they going to be out there for this? They are.
I would imagine they'll probably, some of them will be activated, Tom, unfortunately, but I think the military is fully aware of this and has been for some time. But I think once the election is over, I think the military and the president and the patriots are going to go into full force mode, and you're going to see a lot more action than what we've previously seen. I expect the military to be much more proactive, but again, it's really important to understand that the president needs the backing of the people. The people have to demand this. People have to want this. They have to say, President Trump, we support you. We want you to take action. And so that the people, remember, it's a government for and of and by the people. And this is what all of us need to understand. We need to be more involved, and we need to ask that our president, our government, do these actions, take action against these organizations, these radical far left organizations, and I think that all of us, it would be a good idea once the election is over is to call the White House and demand that something be done about these groups. Make your voice known. And I think the perfect time would be after the election, Tom.
Absolutely. My wife and I were 73, and we don't have no guns or anything like that. So I'm concerned if they come, I don't know, burn your house or just going to kill you. I don't know. But I'm very concerned about it. So the best thing would be stay in your house.
I would just stay vigilant, be aware that it's a time where you're going to see these radical groups and individuals respond to the election, but just have faith that our military knows what they're doing, and they're going to deal with this. I fully put my faith in the U.S. military at this point, so I would not worry too much about it, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Have a good day.
You're welcome. God bless. Okay, let's go back to our call line, and let's go to our next caller, 9009.
Scott, hi, this is
Are you
Art
there?
over in, yeah, Scott, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, okay. I just happened to think about what the gentleman was calling just before me, the question. You answered superbly all of them. Although I might recommend to that young gentleman that if he's still listening, to, depending on where he lives, if it's outside of city limits and he's controlled, he has the jurisdiction of the sheriff's department, call them and ask if they have a local neighborhood watch in your area. And there's also an organization that oversees all of this. It's a civilian organization. It's called COPS. And I know there's a particular, it's an acronym. And for the life of me, I lived a career with acronyms. I can't remember what COPS means. But anyway, that organizes and maintains that overhead watch overall. And, people even in POVs, automobiles, just kind of keep track of things with radios. So we might, consider doing that. My small town where I'm at, outside of Spokane. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're saying there's an actual organization known as COPS, and it stands for something.
Yeah, forgive me for my not remembering that, but
okay.
And then
I've not heard of this before. I'm sorry, I've not heard of this before, and I'm not familiar with it. But
maybe remiss, my friend. It may be just in the. I know it. I believe I've seen it over on the west side. So maybe just work just for this area. There would be some kind of a similar organization called doing the same thing but called a different thing. As if they're sharing party.
Okay.
And one thing as well.
All right, Art.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Can you foresee the potentiality of, after a significant runaway, win by President Trump, after the inauguration, after that's full in play and he's continuing as president, that he will do everything he can. He hasn't really been working on it that much anyway, but he's had a lot of other ankle biters. Could you foresee him really getting hot with the RV, as we know it now, as GCR, in the month of November?
Yeah. I don't know about the month of November. I think possibly there's a chance it will happen by the end of the year. Yeah, I think there's a distinct opportunity, but it's very hard to speculate because we've been down this road so many times and expected things to happen. But I think once the election is over, that there's a much better opportunity for this to happen. And again, it's important to put this all in perspective. We're going to go to the new global financial system, which is called the QFS, the Quantum Financial System.
Right.
In that process, part and parcel of it is what's called the global reset, or the revaluation of currencies, in order to level the playing field and bring all these countries on an equal footing for the global system to function properly. Remember, it's not going to be controlled by these families. It's going to be a much more transparent, ethical, gold-backed, real value-based system. So, and part of that part of that process is revaluing currencies, and then those currencies that are going to revalue, like the Vietnamese dong, we've talked about the Iraqi dinar, the Zimbabwe dollar, and other currencies are going to be thrown away, are going to be put in the incinerator, never to be seen again. And they're going to have a limited period of time to go into the new system, and all of this toxic trash currency, which has been so valueless, is going to be pulled out of the system, and all countries are going to have new currency. So that will be a limited period of time where you'll have an opportunity to exchange, which we're going to try and inform you about as best we can. But as far as speculation about timing of this, Art, that's a very slippery slope, and one I'm not anxious to engage in. So I'm just going to say, let's hope for the best. That'll happen this year.
I believe we've received it. I'm familiar with that. I know that there will be a period of time, once that currency change takes place, that people that have currency bonds and this sort of thing would have the opportunity to go in and redeem those.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's part and parcel is what most people think of as far as the process of the GCR.
But again, I want to stress that to be reasonable with all of this, and don't expect to become a billionaire or a multi-millionaire. Keep your expectations low. You're going to do well in the exchange, but we're just not going to create a whole new wealth class.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. That comes.
Doesn't make sense, does it, Art?
Beginning with the end in mind, but at the same time knowing what's before you, potentialities.
Right.
Okay. I would just say, that's good. I've held it up. It's taking your time. So thank you very kindly, my friend. Great talking to you.
All right, Art. Thank you. God bless you. Okay, let's go back to Maria Love and see if she has anything else that's come in that has a question for me, and anything on the text or email list that she could ask. Maria?
Yeah, I have one question, and it's from Karen A. She says, Scott, do you think that the delivery problem with the flash drive for Tucker was a Patriot op to expand publicity about the Biden family corruption?
Well, Karen was the name, right?
Karen A.
That's a good question, Karen. I hadn't thought of that. I don't think it is. I didn't get that feeling when I heard of the report, and I don't feel that now. I feel like it was deep state, and I think they were petrified of these documents, but they had copies of everything, so it's not like they really caused any censorship of these documents. It's just they didn't get them when they thought they were, because they had them in New York and they made copies, and all they did was send those to Tucker in Los Angeles, and he never got them. Now, they did find the flash drive, as you're correct, but the rest of the documents have not turned up. So do I think it was a Patriot operation? That's interesting perspective, but no, I would say from what I've gathered thus far, it has not been. But nonetheless, you raise a good point, Karen. Okay, Maria, is that it for your questions?
Yes, that's it.
All right, thank you very much for helping us out. Let's go back to the Q&A, and we'll get another caller on here. Okay, so it looks like we have someone on the internet. Can you turn down your microphone? Hello? I'm sorry. Too much interference. We couldn't hear you. Let's go to 860. Fine. How are you?
Hey, Johnny J from Long Island. Feeling good, brother. How you doing? Good.
Hey, Johnny J. How you doing? Good.
What do you know about this Alan Perot character that was on a video, the Next News Network. Remember that about 3 weeks ago? About the Navy SEAL Team 6, how Obama and Hillary were complicit in the destruction of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And, have you heard anything since then about any developments, any updates? Because it's like crickets out there.
Well, that's a good question. I have not heard much additional information other than what I reported tonight about that SEAL Team 6 raid in Nigeria. But I can't vouch for any of the people that have stepped forward with this information. I haven't heard anything from my sources about. And by the way, the reason I'm not hearing a lot is everyone's gone dark because a lot is happening right now with the election and everything. So intel is very scarce right now, and they're preparing for something big coming, Johnny. And I think we kind of can get an inkling of what it is. And I think the Patriots now, again, let's repeat what Q said tonight. And I think that's really important because Q put this out tonight, and I think these are really indicative of what's going on. Are you ready to finish what we started? Nothing can stop what is coming. It's not just a catchphrase. Q. Then the next message, are you ready to hold the political elite protected accountable? And then finally, are you ready to take back control of this country? And then a link to a YouTube video of the space shuttle launched, 0 days to launch. So those to me sound like everything's about ready to go. What do you think, Johnny?
I don't know, from your lips to God's ears. It sounds like, it could go either way. Me personally, I always thought that Q was a psyop, trust the plan and all of that, but I don't know, I'm starting to have second thoughts. So We'll see what happens. We'll see what develops.
I guarantee it's not a psyop. The greatest intel drop in the history of the world. All right. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Scott. You have a nice night.
All right. God bless. Okay, let's go to our Q&A again. And let's go to 7353. I hear you.
Hey, Scott. Mark from the oil fields of North Dakota. Who's originally from North Long Island, Johnny J. I love you.
Can you turn down the background noise?
I sure can, my friend.
Okay. You got a question, Mark?
I was just going to say I have a little information. The female reporter that very Christian.
Right.
She's been doing a couple of updates via YouTube, and basically the laptop was enough evidence to push the SEAL 16 information to the back burner for right now. And they're basically, in a nutshell, they just decided to go after the Biden laptop right now. That too much information would, Americans can't do two things at once anymore.
Yeah.
She apologized. She said, yeah, go ahead.
I was told that the Trump administration had chosen to use SEAL Team 6 against Biden, and they were going to use it and bring it out, and they're the ones responsible for getting this out. But I honestly think you're right. The Hunter Biden laptop has kind of overshadowed everything right now, and it's a bigger story, to be honest with you.
Definitely at this time. But again, she just did an update on YouTube. I don't remember her name. And she apologized because when she said there was going to go forwards, that's what she was told. Then all of a sudden it was, we're just going to put this on the back burner for right now. So that's what Al said just 3 days ago.
Yeah, and that seems to have been what's happened with this. So I don't know. if the Hunter Biden story just became more important or bigger, and that's been pushed out, but it's certainly been a lot of bad news for Joe Biden. I think you would agree.
Every morning now, I've been watching The War Room with Steve Bannon live for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You got Dish Network, is channel 219. And boy, oh boy, are they digging and digging and digging and digging. And Rudy Giuliani has been on, like, I'd say 3 out of 5 days. They have a segment with him. So very good, very powerful.
It's all coming out. It's all coming out,
my brother. Here it comes now.
It's going to be an avalanche. Get ready.
I'm ready.
Here we go. Okay?
Here we go. God bless you.
Okay, Mark. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our queue again, and we've got someone over the internet. Hello, are you there?
I am. Hi, Scott.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Who's this?
Hello?
I'm here. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Okay, we heard you, but we've lost you. Okay, let's go to 6372 on the phone.
Hi, Scott. This is Jamie in Indiana. Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
I work for a small division of a large company, and we ship between 10 and 11,000 UPS packages every day. And I know if we have to try to locate one, yes, and we're a small company.
10?
If
you said
we had
10 to 11,000 a day? Did you say that?
Yes, sir. I did.
Wow.
Yes, I did. And if we have to locate one for some reason, whether it's a bad address or missing contents or whatever, it's a big deal to try to find it. So when I turn my experience related to the information with Tucker, someone had to know about that package the producer was going to drop into a Manhattan UPS center.
Right.
It had to have been an inside job, because once a package is in on the conveyor belts with thousands of others, it looks like every other package. And I don't know that will ever come out, but no one's going to be looking at an address for name of a hotel, attention Tucker Carlson. I think there's a lot more to that story. I know they didn't get the papers, but they did the flash drive. It'll be interesting if anything else comes out. And that was just a statement.
Yeah. Well, I think you raise a good point, Jamie, and I agree with you. I think it's an inside job. They knew these documents were going to be put in the mail, but again, they already had copies, so what did they really accomplish? Not much of anything except bring awareness to the story, right?
Well, the information they had may not have been obvious to the other people, and they may have wanted to know what more do they know than we know, or what else are we going to have to hedge so it doesn't come out. That's just my thought. It sounds a little fishy from the beginning. All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Jamie, thank you for your input. We appreciate it. God bless. Okay, our final caller, it looks like tonight. We have... Okay, let's try again. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Scott. How are you?
Hi.
This is Lucky.
Good. Who am I speaking with? Lucky.
Lucky.
Yes.
In Akron.
Mr. Lucky.
Akron, Ohio.
How you doing?
Yeah.
How you doing there?
Good, my friend, good. Oh, hey, it's snowing a little bit. 32 degrees and it was snowing.
Oh, God bless
Anyhow,
you.
got a
Stay
question
warm.
for you. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got a friend of mine that listens to that MSNBC continually, okay? And I went over to his house a couple of times. Yeah. And, I heard that Morning Joe guy, and he's just lying and picking on Donald why doesn't the president, chew back at them a little bit? I mean, isn't he able to, or?
He has. He's gone after those guys. But, Lucky, what you're seeing right now is these fake news media outlets are being allowed to just do what they do. And it's turning off so many Americans right now. And eventually, I don't know when, it's all going to come back to bite them in extreme forms of a reconfiguration of the mainstream media. They're going to take away their immunity, and they're going to be able to be sued for putting out misinformation. So
I thought the FCC could take away FCC could take their license away for misinformation what they're spewing.
Well, they're protected by these immunity laws. We've got some interference on your line. I'm going to mute you for a second. The mainstream media outlets have been protected from immunity laws, and I think you're going to see the FCC remove all of that. And remember what's happening with the lawsuits from, for instance, the Covington High School. They've sued CNN, they've sued the Washington Post, and they've gotten hundreds of $1 million in judgment. And now you've got another lawsuit against, I believe, NBC. And so they might be sued right out of business, Lucky. Don't underestimate that.
Okay, good.
Anything else?
Yep, that answers my question, my friend.
It's happening. It's happening, Lucky.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. God bless, my friend.
Thank you.
Have a good...
Thank you. All right, folks, I don't think we have any other questions that have come in. Oh, here's one from Janae on email. We'll finish up with this tonight. What's going to happen to bank stock values with the QFS? Okay. I think what you're going to see is these big banks are going to be broken up, and they're going to be forced to go back to these smaller banks. The big mega banks are going to be like Wells Fargo and Citigroup, Bank of America, and I think as a result, you're going to see their value drop, and you're going to see them be less of a, playing more of a dominant role in finance and business and banking. And I think a lot of things are going to be diversified to smaller banks. In fact, I think you're going to see this all throughout the global, or particularly the national economic system. The days of the mega corporations, we're going to go back to mom and pop, local groceries, buy local, local businesses, support your local supermarkets and local owners and stores. And I think you're going to see a massive return to this. The small-time merchants and who are trusted and known in their communities, and not these mega corporations. And I think the banks and the big box grocery outlets and the Walmarts and Targets of the world are going to see themselves possibly change over. And I think you're going to see a lot of retail returning back to local businesses, and I think the same thing will happen in the banking industry. And therefore their stock prices will probably come down, and some of these maybe will go out of business as these new banking regulations become law. And I think the days of the mega banks are over. We'll see how long this will take. All right? Thank you, Janae, for your question. Okay, Maria Love, I want to thank you for your help tonight. We're looking forward to seeing you at our live event this coming election night. I want to wish everybody a safe and week. Keep your eyes open, and let's hope and pray that this election, well, I'm not worried about the president. I'm worried about these governors and turning these states from blue to red. So let's all envision a massive red wave taking place across America on Tuesday night. That would be the best thing for our country. And not that it's about Republican and Democrats, it's about those who want to support America and those who want to destroy it. So thank you all for joining us tonight on this Sunday edition of the Miracles Intel conference call. We'll see you again next Sunday. Next Sunday, not this Wednesday, but next Sunday. And we'll look forward to having you all with us again. Thank you, everybody. And God bless you all. Stay safe. And go President Trump.